There's a lot to like from an Auburn perspective with how everything went down in Tampa in the SEC tournament on Thursday. We'll tell you all that and more on today's Locked On Auburn.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a fun time of year, and if you were not subscribed to this guy at this time of year, I don't know what you're doing. We are joined by Justin Ferguson with the Auburn Observer, who just landed in Tampa. Is that right?
Yeah, not too long ago. It took long enough for me to get here, but yeah, we're here in Tampa. We're getting settled in and looking forward to which, I mean, by the time you're listening to this, today's game between Auburn and Texas A&M.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So, Jay Ferg, I was expecting today's matchup to be between Auburn and Florida. And I don't know how much of the game you were able to follow with travel and, delays and things like that. But, I mean, A&M controlled it throughout. And then a late surge by the Florida Gators, which was very impressive. I think they were up 12 points with like 3 minutes to go. They force overtime. I thought Florida was the better team going into this, but it doesn't matter. Auburn is taking on an Aggies team, which they really handled earlier in the season.
Yeah, I know this is a really good matchup for Auburn. Depending on what you look at in terms of the game, you've got Walker Kessler is Walker Kessler and Colin Castleton are two of the best centers in the league, probably the two best centers in the league, and I think Castleton's really the only guy that we've seen this season do a good job on Kessler for not just one but two games. Mike White's teams play really good defense. Auburn, the first game they handled Florida, and then the second game, they really kind of took it to the next level, so to speak, with a big win. Over Auburn with the way they shot, especially in the second half of that game. So yeah, no, this was a good omen for Auburn, I think. You don't have to play Castleton. You don't have to play a team that is playing in their home state, which I think is a big one. I would be interested to see what the crowd looks like between Auburn and Texas A&M here coming up on Friday. So no, this is a good game, and you were right. The first matchup Auburn had, not only did Auburn handle them, A&M never really threatened too much, unlike some of the teams we've seen Auburn play this year. And on top of that, a really good game for Alan Flanagan, and really good game for Auburn's front court. A&M's got a good back court, but they just really can't, I don't think, compete with Auburn's front court for a full 40 minutes, which gives Auburn a pretty good edge in this one.
So I think every Auburn fan was excited to see that, okay, they're watching two teams that are playing each other for the chance to play Auburn, and it goes to overtime. Do you buy into that? Is that extra 5 minutes that big of a deal when you talk about fatigue in a tournament setting where you're playing multiple days in a row? How big of a deal in your mind was that for the Tigers?
No, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, it's definitely something that you're going to want to have if you're Auburn, just because Auburn plays a deeper rotation than most teams. That's really helpful because there are some star players for Texas A&M that had to log some major minutes, and Auburn is coming off of a stretch. This will be 6 days rest or five full days rest by the time they play again. So I mean, this is that's exactly what you want to see if you're Auburn. It's just 5 minutes, but it's 5 more minutes on guys we've seen throughout the year where Auburn has been able to pull away from teams late because the other team just plays more guys and have heavier legs. A&M maybe plays a little bit of a deeper bench than some of these other teams in the tournament. But no, this was a really good pickup for Auburn just to get that little boost. When you play deep and you're already playing a team that's got more tread on the tires than you, you definitely want to take advantage of that. And I think Auburn's going to want to play a really energetic, up-tempo game, kind of like what they played with Mississippi State last week. I think you could see a similar start to that in terms of just the energy and the effort.
Right. And so the winner of Auburn and Texas A&M will play the winner of Arkansas and LSU. And Jay Ferg, I turned on the LSU Missouri game, and it was like 30-6 or something crazy like that. I mean, LSU looked really, really good against Missouri. And, just kind of peeking into the Arkansas world, one of their key guys is not playing. Is there a chance here that Auburn has, to play an LSU team instead of an Arkansas team in the semifinals?
Yeah, there's a chance they have to play LSU if they advance, just because a fully healthy LSU team is really good. A fully healthy LSU team probably plays more like a 2 or a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament setting than what they are. It's probably about 5 or 6. With Xavier Pinson and that defense, they're really nasty. And, Auburn was one of the only teams to really get LSU this season when they were fully healthy and then get a win, and a good win at that. So, I mean, this is either way. I mean, doesn't matter if it's Arkansas or LSU. Auburn's going to have their hands full on Saturday just because of the quality of the league and the quality of the matchups. And so, Auburn fans may want to see, some revenge against Arkansas. But I mean, LSU, I think, is a team you gotta really watch out for, especially with the way they play defense. Best defense in the country pretty much from beginning to end this season. With the way Tari Easton's playing and the fact that they're fully healthy, they're super dangerous.
Jay Ferg, if you had to predict every opponent that Auburn plays from here on out, I know that's impossible, but just for the sake of it, I mean, are you thinking if they were to win out, they would play obviously A&M today, Arkansas on Saturday, Kentucky on Sunday? I mean, that's the clear-cut favorite path, right? Or the most likely path, you would think.
Yeah, that's the most likely path. I mean, I would go either way with this LSU-Arkansas matchup just because of kind of the injury situations for both of them. But yeah, I like Kentucky obviously more than Tennessee, just because, I mean, I trust Kentucky's offense more. Tennessee's got, awesome defense, and defense travels, obviously, but they've been known to kind of slump at times on the offensive end of the floor. So, I think that's more likely, but I do think, Auburn could play any combination of Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, and LSU, I think, here. If they get past Texas A&M on Friday, it's just a testament to how good the league was at the top this year.
Yeah, right. Justin Ferguson, our guest today. I want to get his take on Auburn's ability to attract guys in the transfer portal. It's right here on Locked On Auburn. But I want to tell you about our friends at Built Bar. A few more folks have reached out to me saying that they have ordered a dry bar. You need to get in on that. If you have not done that, it is a great way to get that snack in the afternoon and you feel full until dinner, and you look at the nutrition label and you're like, man, this isn't many calories at all. It keeps me full because all of the protein. A lot of people have reached out and told me that they enjoy it with their morning coffee. That's honestly how I prefer mine. You dip it in the coffee a little bit, let it melt just a little, and have that chocolate. It's so smooth to eat, and they've got a ton of different flavors. So check it all out at built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off. That is at built.com. Justin Ferguson, what all is going on with the Auburn Observer these days? Obviously, you're in Tampa. You'll see a lot of coverage about basketball, I'm sure, this week.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a big basketball week. It's going to be a big basketball week the next couple of weeks at the Observer. You can get a lot of the deep dives we had this week on Auburn's 3-guard lineup. Their chances to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. A dive on Jabari Smith playing his best basketball at the perfect time. Then we'll have coverage from every game at the Observer over the weekend that Auburn plays in. So we will have observation. We'll do a podcast for every game as well. So the only way you can get that is if you're a subscriber. So auburnobserver.com, $6 a month or $60 a year. Or you can take advantage. We're doing a free trial right now. You can check us out for 7 days for absolutely free. It'd be a good time to pick up on that. And like I said, we'll have post-game analysis both in the written form and the podcast form for every game Auburn's here in Tampa. So you got to be a subscriber or in that free trial to do that. So auburnobserver.com, sign up there.
Yep, check it out. It's worth every penny, folks. Absolutely. You mentioned real quick before we move to football, Jay Ferg, you mentioned the 3-guard lineup. We saw that in the overtime game a few weeks ago, and we haven't really seen it since then. Why do you think that happened, one, to begin with, and two, why have we not gone back to it? Because it clearly worked.
Yeah, no, they played it for about 40 seconds against South Carolina.
Okay.
And it was a close lineup. It was at the point in the game where South Carolina was just fouling, and Auburn was just trying to get defensive stops, and it worked. You put three ball handlers on the floor, and you're able to still rebound at a high rate with your guys in the front court. But no, it was just a smart play in terms of matchups. So Mississippi State's not as quick of a team as you get in the backcourt, especially. And so with Alan Flanagan and Devin Cambridge, and now we've seen Chris Moore get in the rotation some as well, with those guys not necessarily carrying as much of an offensive workload as Katie Johnson and Zep Jasper and Wendell Green Jr. are, getting all three of those guys out there on the floor at the same time just made sense for that matchup. And it's a fun lineup. I think it's more of a closing lineup than anything. You still get value from those wings, especially what they do on defense and on the board. So it's not something you want to play a ton because it would wear out that 3-yard rotation.
Yeah.
But, I think it's going to be the new closing lineup moving forward. I think it's going to be the one where they go to, and they tried it a little bit against South Carolina and settled the game down after that. It's just keeps your ball handlers on the floor, but also has your two best players still on it at the same time. Katie Johnson and Zeb Jasper are two guys that definitely can kind of play above their size in terms of the defense. And so those guys get steals, those guys get stops, and they can attack the basket. So it's a really fun lineup, and I think it's going to be something that's going to be this late season tweak that we could see kind of in crunch time of these games here in the postseason.
Is Zep technically the 3 in that lineup?
Yeah, it depends on I think KD kind of does some of it, and it just depends on who you're matched up with on defense. In the Mississippi State game, which we saw them play a lot, Zep was matched up with Iverson Molinar, who was Mississippi State's 1. Mm-hmm. And so KD kind of had to play above a little bit on DJ Jeffries. So it moves around. But yeah, it's more of, that 1 through 5 is kind of more of, especially in an Auburn system where, you're 2 through 4 kind of have the similar responsibilities on offense. It's just more of what you do on defense. And, I think one of the strengths of that team is that Katie and Zep both are guys that can kind of just get after you no matter how big you are. But in that game, you roll Zep out on their best player, and their best player was their 1. So that's why Zep was kind of the 1 in that lineup on defense.
Right. Absolutely. All right. I want to get your thoughts on, how do you think Auburn football is going to handle the transfer portal over the next few weeks? There's a lot of talk about this Corey Rucker guy from Arkansas mm-hmm. State. A position of need. I think we all agree Auburn wants a receiver or could use a receiver. Then obviously tackles are kind of the other thing there. But in the past, Jay Ferg, we haven't seen this coaching staff be able to bring in guys that were key positions of need. Why do you think that is? And do you think that will change after spring practice is done? We're all kind of expecting a mass exodus, and kind of going through the portal stuff again.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it is. I think the wide receiver is the big position of need there, where you're bringing in a guy who, and Ike Hilliard, who definitely is going to get people excited, either in the portal or in recruiting just because of his NFL experience. I'll be interested to see what it is. And I think there's just so much going on with Auburn over the last few months, obviously, that didn't make the end of the season being the way it was in terms of the losing streak. It just, Auburn didn't really have a whole lot of momentum, and they weren't able to capitalize on that in the portal just because of, all the issues. And I think, and just the sour way the season ended. I think this is an opportunity to kind of hit the reset button. You can go through spring practice. Bryan Harsin's still the head coach, and you've got some new assistants on board, and I think it's just kind of rally the troops after that. So I think that's going to be the big thing for them, is just go through spring practice and then hit the portal hard here in these next couple of months with the guys you got, and just take advantage of the fact that you might have a little bit more, momentum, a little bit more life, because it's been made apparent here in the last few months that Bryan Harsin and his staff aren't going anywhere.
Right. Had John Samuel Shanker on the podcast yesterday, Jay Ferg, and he talked a lot about, why he spoke out. He was kind of the first player to put something out on social media in regards of players supporting Bryan Harsin. And it sounds like the locker room appears to be all in, despite all those different opinions kind of going all over the place. People appear to be fully behind Bryan Harsin. Is that something that you think will be an instant thing this spring? Or is that something where it's like, this is going to take time for some people to get over?
Yeah, I mean, I think internally the team and the staff, it's always been just kind of, hey, we got us, and we're going to rally the troops, and it's all going to be kind of us against the world. And I think that's the mentality you have to have any sort of success in the situation you find yourself in, if you're Auburn. But I think guys who had issues with Auburn, just kind of what's been going on at Auburn since Bryan Harsin came in. I think a lot of those guys are probably out at this point. And so the guys who were staying back, and you can expect probably some more movement after spring ball, because that's just going to be natural for pretty much any team in the country, especially one like Auburn.
Right.
With the the roster the way it is. I think you're going to see. I think there's a lot of guys who are bought in. I think there's some people who are going to want to feel it out and see what all this really means,
sure,
in spring ball. But, from what I can tell and from what, I've been able to kind of hear and see, it's just, there's a lot of internal belief, and that's, there might be a lot of doubts, and there might be a lot of people just questioning about Auburn's long-term future or even their short-term future with Bryan Harsin. But, sounds like the guys who are still around are on board. And that's step one. That's, if you don't have that, you don't have a chance.
Right. Justin Ferguson, our guest today. In just a moment, Jay Ferg, I want to ask your thoughts. Is Auburn stuck as a 2 seed, or can they do something this weekend to kind of go back up to that 1 seed where a lot of people had them projected a few weeks ago? It's that time of year, though, as college basketball tournaments are, they're upon us. They are here. And, for all the latest odds and contests and player props, betonline.net is the number one source for all of your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. So make sure you're prepared. Head over to BetOnline, where the game starts. Justin Ferguson. So it seems like across the board, folks have Auburn basketball as a 2 seed. What can they do this weekend to move up to a 1 seed? Or is it kind of already set in stone, you think, where they're going to be a 2 seed no matter what?
Yeah, if you look at a place like Bracket Matrix, Auburn's got, right now, still has a little bit more one seed projections than 2s. I think more of the notable ones, like we see with like Joe Lenardi on ESPN and some of these other people that are kind of a little bit more, have them more than 2. It's neck and neck between them and Kansas. It's just a matter of what Kansas does in the tournament. I think Kansas might get a little bit of momentum right here just because they play earlier, because it's just the Big 12 tournament started a day earlier for them than Auburn is. So, I looked at it this week at the Observer and kind of broke down the metric. Auburn's neck and neck with Kansas in quad 1 winning percentage. Kansas just has a few more games. Auburn's got a better road record,
right,
which I think has really helped them out on this one. So, I think Auburn's got a chance to, get a 1 seed here, as long as they come down here to Tampa and they don't, have an early exit. And then Kansas doesn't really catch fire. I think that's the big thing, is if Kansas, rolls their way through to the Big 12 tournament title and they get one more win over Baylor, that would be huge for them. Whereas I think Auburn just needs to have a solid tournament. And I don't know if I don't think they necessarily have to win it to get a 1 seed, just because of the body of work. But
yeah,
they could definitely use one more quad 1 win to kind of bring it home, I think. And so by the time on Sunday, when most of the work's already been done for the committee, whatever happens in the final just happens. You don't let it affect you too much. And I think the ultimate wild card here, ultimately, though, is Kentucky. Kentucky is a team that, depending on what happens, in the tournament field, they could play 3 straight quad 1 games. If Alabama wins, and we're recording this before they play, if Alabama wins and plays Kentucky in the quarterfinals on Friday, that's a quad 1 game. Whatever they'd get in the semifinal and the final would be a quad 1 game. They get 3 straight quad 1 wins away from home. Their resume looks a lot better. They have the momentum going in. They might snatch that 1 seed. But Auburn just got to go and have a good showing. I think if they just have a solid showing, and it's not one of those cases where Kansas or Kentucky just look like, absolute world beaters, they'll have a good shot at getting a 1 seed.
Do you think that sometimes fans overvalue the worth of conference tournaments? Because sometimes it seems like, a team will go on and win, but like they have the same seeding projection as they did going into the weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, this is just a part. Now, it's an important part because it shows that you can beat the teams away from home, which are kind of the combination of the two things the committee looks at more than anything else. But it's you can't ignore the body of work beforehand. And Auburn's got one of the best winning percentages in the country, one of the best quad one records in the country, one of the best road records in the country, and the most they can lose in Tampa is one game. Right. So that there's only so much that your resume can be affected at a place like this. It can definitely help you, but it's not one of those things where the committee just overvalues it. But I think fans may value it from time to time just because of the notoriety of the event and the fact that it is the last thing you see before you get into Selection Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Justin Ferguson, one more time, how can people find you, hear you, support you, read you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, auburnobserver.com, $6 a month, $60 a year, or you can sign up for a free trial right now. Podcasts and newsletters after every Auburn basketball game here in the SEC tournament, and we expect to do that at the NCAAs as well. And everything gets sent straight to your email inbox. Just check us out on auburnobserver.com.
Absolutely. That is Justin Ferguson joining us. We'll be back later today with our post-game podcast after Auburn takes on the Texas A&M Aggies. Charlie Five will join me for that. We'll see you then right here on Locked On Auburn.